Hello, everybody out there. Today is another installment of Greater Than Careers. Today I have Mr. Brian Head with me. Brian, you want to say hi and tell him who you are and what you do?
Hey guys, I'm Brian Head. I'm a police officer here in San Antonio. I work I've been doing it for about 5 years. I'm on the street crimes unit, so otherwise known as the gang unit, or a cool name. Yep, we're the proactive unit here in San Antonio. So we go to high problem areas in the city, places where there's high gang violence, criminal activity, things of that nature. And we try to attack the problem before it becomes a problem. And one of the many things you can do on SAPD, our unit is one of 20 plus units one could be on SAPD. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you for your service, obviously, right off the rip. I didn't
No
already say that to
problem.
you earlier.
No, that's all good.
Can you give me like a brief overview, Brian, of kind of like what the job is, kind of like an overall description, and then kind of like maybe like what like a typical day to day kind of looks like for you guys?
For us, I would say the job is, first of all, very spontaneous. You never know what you're going to run into. Uh, one day, could be a slow day of just calls, accidents, reports. The next day could be full of foot chases. Sometimes you're getting shot at. Sounds kind of scary, but it's not that bad. You never know what's going to come at you. Typical day, probably be showing up to the sub. We always have a roll call, which is everybody meets in the same room. It's kind of like grade school. Everybody gets called if they're present or not. Everybody gets assigned an area. If you work in doubles, you'll get assigned a partner. They'll tell you where you're going to go for the day. So once you get assigned an area, you'll hit the streets. Once you hit the streets, if you're on patrol, even I'll go more patrol, you're open for calls. So, whatever is pending, you can jump on that, or you're just, waiting for the next thing. So, the busier the day, usually the faster it goes. The less calls, usually the slower it goes, in my opinion. And our job is also heavily affected by the weather. During those ice storms we had earlier this year, we were working like 14, 15-hour shifts, shutting down highways. I mean, mind you, San Antonio has not seen a blizzard like that almost ever. So we were kind of unprepared for that. But we respond to high water, we respond to fires. Surprisingly, we do respond to fires. We're usually first, just to make sure the scene is safe before SAFD comes out there. So, but typical day would just be answering calls such as accidents are very common, domestic disturbances, very common, usually married people, boyfriend, girlfriend, custody, a lot of custody exchanges. We do a lot of that. But for the most part, reports, a lot of reports, thefts, burglary of vehicles, burglary of homes, criminal mischief, vandalism. There's so many things we respond to. It's kind of hard to give someone a typical day, but in short, this unpredictable. One day could be one thing, and the next day could be totally different. But for the most part, the call load is this crashes, disturbances. That's what you'll get the most.
Okay,
But
okay, I got you. Sounds like it can be a pretty busy day.
pretty busy day, pretty busy day. When I was on West, I think I answered 20 to 25 calls a day. So that was my average on West. So my area was pretty busy. So West Patrol, I think, is the busiest section in the city. I would say the least busy is probably East, and they're still going to 10 to 12 calls a day. So pretty busy.
Yeah, so it sounds like pretty busy either way. So one of my favorite questions I don't always ask because not everybody has something that's like a popularized career that you see on movies and TV. But what's like the difference between like kind of like what you do and what you see in like on the movies or TV shows and like some major difference? So maybe you're watching a movie or TV show with your girl and you're like, that's not how that happens. That's not how that happens. Stuff like that. Just I'm really curious.
That's so true. I would say the biggest misconception when it comes to movies is how little paperwork you see them doing in the movies. Because usually for every 5 minutes of fun is going to be about an hour of paperwork. I think that's one thing that's underrepresented in movies, paperwork. So much paperwork. There's just so much data we need to fill out. The federal government requires us to report certain data to them along with the state government. So it's just, race, gender, date of birth, where they live, all kinds of data they want. And that we're not even talking about vehicles yet, property, serial numbers, if there's an accident, every single person in each car needs to be documented, where they were sitting, if they had any injuries, uh, stuff like that. I would say that is probably the biggest misconception, that it's, all super fun every second of the day. Mind you, it's a really fun job and I enjoy it a lot. But I would say the paperwork for me was the biggest, like, wow, this is taking a long time. And I would say an average report probably takes an hour and a half, 2 hours to finish, like an average arrest. Uh, shootings, cuttings, things like that, maybe 7 to 8 hours. Fatal accidents, 7 hours, because different investigative units need to come out, take pictures, measure. Crime scenes is 7 hours minimum. It's going to be a while because there's just so much documentation you have to do. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing from the movies. The movies just don't show you the paperwork. Like the fun stuff in the movies happens, but they don't show you the hours and hours and hours of, crime scene investigation and, collecting evidence and all that stuff that happens after the super fun stuff happens.
I got you. So it's a lot of paperwork. Have you seen the movie The Other Guys on Netflix?
I have.
They do a lot of paper. The two guys do a lot of paperwork in there. So that's what I was saying. Seriously, I was like, that's. I guess that's really real. They just do all the paperwork all the time.
Yeah, they just do all the paperwork. So that's real. There's guys that just do all the paperwork. That's all they do is paperwork, because this is so much entities, governmental entities that need this and this, they need this, and different units that need different things. So it's a lot of paperwork.
Okay.
I would tell anybody applying for a police job, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. No regrets at all. But it's kind of a lot of paperwork. Just a little
Be
bit.
prepared.
Yeah.
So, what got you interested in becoming a police officer, Brian?
My dad was actually a police officer. He just retired. He retired in 2018 with 30 years. He did with SAPD. So I just saw it my whole life. And I always had an idea I wanted to be a police officer. Just seeing him come home every day, hearing some of the stories he would tell us. I was just around it my whole life. So I didn't really make the decision until I was in college. I actually majored in physical therapy, pre-physical therapy. And that's when I decided, like, this isn't what I want to do. And that's when I graduated, that's when I went and started doing the police stuff. And I have no regrets at all. Like, mind you, these past 2 years have been tough, but I still really enjoy my job. Like, I never put my uniform on like, oh, have to go to work today. It's always like, well, I'm gonna go to work today. Like, let's see what happens today. And sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes it's a slow day. It's all good. There'll be another day. But I would say just being around it my whole life, I was exposed to it my whole life. So that's what really sparked the interest and laid the foundation that I finally decided on when I was in college.
Yeah, that's really cool that your dad did it for so long, and you said he retired a police officer
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
That's
he
awesome.
retired as a lieutenant in 2018.
Okay, that's actually really, really cool. So kind of like following that family lineage.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have a son someday. He can do the same thing.
Hopefully, I would warn him like, hey man, get ready, because you know it's a great job. It's one of the most I wouldn't say micromanaged, but there's a lot of attention on us, and this you just got to make sure you do everything right. Cross your T's, dot your I's. Be safe, but do your job well. You can't. This is not a job you can do sloppy. You can't put half effort into it, because that can get you in trouble. So I would just tell anyone that's looking to do it, hey man, it's a great job. It's rewarding. Despite what you see on TV, it's a rewarding job. Just make sure you just, put good effort into it and put 100% into every report you write, every, accident you investigate. Just put 100% into it just to cover your bases.
I got you. I like it a lot. So when you first started, did you start out working like in the street crimes unit, or did you start out doing something else originally?
When you graduate the academy, everybody goes to patrol.
Okay.
So when I first broke out, I went to West T shift, West Tango. So those hours are 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. So I was over there for 2 years. So while I was over there, I got my own district. I got a district in 6 months. And then when I got to 2 years, I applied to the gang unit. When it's not very common for such young patrolmen to be moved to a unit like that, but I guess I was just lucky. I did really good in my interview, I guess. So I got a chance, which I'm very thankful for. But the majority you have to go to patrol. So everybody goes to patrol, assign you a certain area, and that's when you can start honing your skills, learning different things. And I would say by the end of the first year, you have a pretty good idea of how to do your job. Those first couple of months are wow, because you ride with the FTO for 3 months after you graduate. So when you don't have that FTO sitting beside you, you're kind of like, what do I do? So it can be kind of stressful. Like, man, it's all on me now. Like, this is intense. But yeah, everybody goes to patrol before they can move anywhere. It's about 2 to 3 years. Once you have 2 to 3 years on, you can start moving around to different units.
Okay, I got you. So FTO, I'm assuming is a field training officer, if I had to guess.
Yes, yes. So after you graduate, you have 3 months in different areas with a different FTO in each area. And then you have 2 weeks of evaluations, evals. So those 2 weeks, there's an FTO there too, but they're not helping you per se. They're kind of just watching, making sure you're doing everything right. And once you pass evals, then you get released to patrol by yourself.
Okay, I got you. So it kind of makes sense. You kind of get your three months, your evaluations, and kind of what you said. It's like that terrifying first moment of like, oh crap, I'm by myself out here.
Yeah, that that first month is like whoa, and your first code call that you handle by yourself. Your first major accident on the highway by yourself. You get nervous. You're like, oh man, it's all on me, and the public's looking at you. They all expect you to know what to do. So you got to, even if you don't know, act like you know.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, and ask the older officer, hey man, like, is this how I'm supposed to do this? And usually they'll help you out. Like, hey man, I got you. This is how we do it. And but it was fun. It was fun. I remember those days. It was really exciting.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. So how many hours a week are you typically working, and what does like a normal schedule for like a police officer look like?
40 hours. It's pretty consistent, 40 hours. So there's some shifts, B shift, well, A shift, B shift, and C shift. So A shift is 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. B shift is 1:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And dog watch is C shift is 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So all those shifts are 8 hours, 5 days a week. Tango shift, which was mine, is 4 days a week, and then it's 10 hours. So it's 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. So there's a lot of different shifts you can work. You can work as much as you want, or you can work just the 40 hours if you want. It just depends on what. I have some friends that work every single day. If they're not working their regular job, they're working overtime. We have a whole unit designated for overtime. So all they do is assign officers to overtime assignments at the convention center, the Alamo Dome, City Hall, things like that. So, but an average work week, 40 hours. Sometimes you get held over. If you get out at 3 and you get a call at 2:30 and it's a report call, you're probably going to be there a little bit later. So you can get a little bit of OT, but you automatically earn OT once you go over your duty hours. You start earning OT, which is 1.5 rate. So, but I would say an average of 40 hours, and there's different shifts you can pick, and you can work 5 days a week or 4 days a week on those shifts.
I got you. But typically it's 40 hours a week though.
Yeah, typically 40 hours.
Okay, that makes sense. So one of my favorite questions to ask, Brian, I love asking to everybody, is what was the first job you ever actually worked?
My first job I ever worked, I was a ride operator at Six Flags.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
What ride was it?
It was what's that thing called? The Roadrunner? The Roadrunner Express.
Okay.
Roadrunner Express and the wagon wheel. I forgot what it was called, but it was like the western part of Six Flags.
Okay.
That's where I was assigned. So I would work the Rattler, the Gully Washer, the wagon wheel, the Roadrunner Express. That was my area. So I actually started doing that my junior year in high school. That summer. That was my first job ever at Six Flags.
You have to go for free though, right?
I did. You get to go for free, and you get, I think, half off the food, which is super expensive still. Yeah. So it's still like $10 with the 50% discount, but hey, it was a discount. And I think you get free tickets for one family member too.
Okay, that's cool. I like that though.
That wasn't bad.
Kind of different, especially when you're in high school.
Yeah, it was long shifts. I remember 12-hour shifts for minimum wage. So
That's
some
rough.
long days.
That's really rough, actually.
But it builds character.
So within, you kind of mentioned that I think already at the beginning, but what you said, you went to college and got a degree. You said it was in, what was it in again? I'm sorry.
It was in athletic medicine, pre-physical therapy.
Okay, okay. So within becoming a police officer, is a degree required? Is a degree helpful? Like, what are some of like the education qualifications, requirements, maybe just things that are helpful within the police department?
The degree isn't necessarily needed. You don't need a degree. I think you need minimum high school diploma or GED to apply. However, they do offer fiscal incentives for having a degree. So every month I'll get paid 350 for my bachelor's. I think it's 375 for a master's and then 450 a month for a doctorate. So they will compensate you for your degree. The only reason I picked that degree was because I always had an idea I wanted to be a cop, but I wanted something different from police work. So just in case, something happened to me where I couldn't do my job as a police officer anymore, I'd have a backup plan to something else. That was my mindset. I know a lot of people, major in criminal justice before policing. You don't need to, if you want to, you can. It's only going to help. They're going to teach you everything you know. Our academy is 8 months long, 33 weeks. So they'll teach you everything you need to know about the laws that pertain to you. And then once you promote to detective and you go to a specialized unit, you'll get even more training on the laws that pertain to your unit, like vice. All they do is mostly, prostitution, bar checks, things like that. So they're very knowledgeable in that area. But I would definitely encourage anyone that wants to be a cop, get your degree. It's only going to help you. It's only more money every year. And if it's not in criminal justice, that's fine. I know there's a guy on South Patrol. He has a PhD in biomedical engineering, and
Okay.
he just he decided he wanted to be. He used to work at some engineering firm, and he decided one day I want to be a police officer. So he did, and I think he promoted. I think he's a sergeant now, but he has a PhD, a doctorate. I know my deputy chief has a PhD. He has a doctorate, and he teaches at St. Mary's, I believe, St. Mary's or Trinity, one of those two. But he's a professor too. So I like policing and on top of that, if you don't get your degree, by the time you join the police department, they offer a tuition reimbursement. So based on your GPA, they'll offer you either 100%, 90%, 80% reimbursement for whatever you paid for your degree. So think if you don't get it before, you can get it during your time at SAPD and they'll reimburse you for it. And then you'll get the monthly stipends. So either way, it'll be a plus.
I got you. And you can't apply to be a police officer till you're 21, right?
You can apply when you're 20 and 6 months years old.
Okay.
So I actually did that. I showed up on 20 years, 6 months to the day. And because I was so pumped. And so by the time, all you have to do is by the time you graduate, you need to be 21.
Okay, I got you. It makes sense. So I think it kind of makes sense though too. Like you could obviously kind of like fit in almost 3 to 4 years of schooling, get your bachelor's before you even get into the police academy, because you can't do it until you're 21 or
Yeah.
20 and 6 months. So that's kind of a positive thing also. Is there any like things within like the police force though? Like if you wanted to move up to detective or maybe like a higher like tier in the police force where a degree would be like required or helpful at all though? Like to like help you move up?
Yes. So all the ranks, all the way up to captain, because as a patrolman, you have to do 5 years. 5 years you can promote to detective. And then after that, it's a 2-year span between the ranks. So once you're a detective, it's 2 years until you can be a sergeant, 2 years until you can test a lieutenant, and 2 years until you can test a captain. Once you're a captain, you can only be appointed to deputy chief or assistant chief. However, to be a chief, you need to have a master's degree in something. So you either have to get it before you get appointed to the position of chief, or if you do get appointed to the position of chief, you have to get your master's degree done within a certain amount of time. So I think they give you, I guess, 2 years if you have credits built up to get your master's degree completed. but you have to carry a degree to a master's degree to hold the position of chief, either assistant chief or deputy chief. In other areas, I know one girl, she has a degree in, I think she has a degree in psychology too. I think she's taught special ed. I think she has a master's in psychology and she taught special ed for like 14 years. And she decided, I want to be a police officer. So now she did her time on the streets and now she's on the mental health unit. So she's extremely knowledgeable of like mental, well, she calls them, forgot the word she used to describe them, but mental health disorders. She's very knowledgeable because of her background. So that could help out. We have guys who have degrees in IT, information technology, and they're on our computer crimes unit because they're super intelligent when it comes to computers and that this IT coding stuff, very knowledgeable. So it can help you when if you want to go to a specialized unit, and you also need some when it comes to the chief level ranks.
Okay, I got you. It makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that either, which is cool.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, those
So
guys are pretty smart up there.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they have this master's degree. They have to have some brains in there, that's for certain.
Yeah.
So for someone maybe who's like a junior, senior in high school, or maybe like a little bit between now, I guess then and 21 years old, are there any like work experience or different accomplishments that people could like go after or do that would kind of help them have a better shot of getting into a police department, being accepted, that would like benefit them?
I would say anybody in high school, the best thing is consistency. Stay consistent, stay in good shape because you're gonna need it in the academy. But when it comes to employment and or school, just achieve and be consistent, especially when it comes to employment. Employment's something that hurts a lot of applicants. And it looks good when you start with a company and you're with that company for 4 or 5 years and you move up the ranks in that company. It shows, dedication, it shows a consistency, like I said, work ethic. You started at the bottom of that company and you moved up. They're gonna assume, oh, well, if you come here, you're gonna start as a patrolman and you'll be a sergeant in 6 years. You know what I mean? So I would say to any juniors or seniors, be careful, make good decisions because they look back all the way to middle school when you do apply. Make good decisions. Always have the goal of you being a police officer in the back of your head. That's what I did. When I was in high school and college, I would always play around with friends. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a police officer. So I didn't do certain things, when it comes to parties. I didn't, take certain risks. In the back of my mind, I always knew I want to be a cop. So I always made decisions based on that. And it helped me out when I applied because there wasn't really anything going on when they took my background. And then when I got into college, I stayed with Costco for 4 years. I worked at Costco from 2011 to 2015. And then after Six Flags. And it showed, I was about to promote to a supervisor before I left to the police department. So I would just say make good decisions. If you're in school, achieve, do as good as you can. And when it comes to jobs, do your best at those jobs, put in good work, be a good worker, be a reliable, good employee. And so when they call those supervisors and managers, they're gonna be like, oh, he was great. I could always count on him. He was always there. Whenever I needed somebody, he was there. It's only gonna help you when you apply.
No, that's awesome. I like that. Some really good advice. So within the police department, I don't know if it's going to be different between San Antonio and anywhere else, but kind of maybe if you can give us an overarching idea, how competitive is it to get into like a police department initially?
The police department, I would say the biggest competition is yourself when you do apply. Unlike the fire department that has 4,500 people apply at one time, everybody wants to be a firefighter. Uh, the police department is it's just all about you. It's all about your choices you made. It's all about the things you did when you were in high school and college. And it's all about being. The biggest thing is being honest. So if you did do certain things when you were younger, just be honest. Tell them. Be honest and tell them. Don't lie, because probably the number one thing that gets people in trouble when it comes to the police department is lying. Just think about it. We're going to be enforcing the laws. You know, you are temporarily suspending someone's civil rights by taking them into custody and arresting them. It's a heavy weight. So, they want you to be honest and forthcoming from the beginning because you're going to have to be honest and forthcoming for the rest of your career. You know what I mean? So, I would say the biggest thing when it comes to that is just yourself. You got to be smart about stuff from the beginning. Like, I know these high schoolers are young. I was there. The world's out there for me. Hey, always be smart. The decisions you make now will affect you when you're older. Like, that's just, it's so important. Like, just make good decisions, you know, be safe, be disciplined. You're starting young. Trust me, it might not be the most popular thing to do. It might not be the most fun thing to do, but it's gonna pay off in the future when it comes to applying for the police department. But when it comes to competition, you when I applied, you don't really see other candidates. Like, it's just you and your background detective, and that's it. So you see them, you do your polygraph by yourself, you do your board interview by yourself, everything's by yourself. You do your PT. I did my PT test by myself because I showed up. I was the only one that showed up that day. So it's really just you and the police department.
Okay.
So that's my biggest advice. It's just you. You're the competition. You gotta, put your best foot forward when you do apply.
I got you. I like it. I like it. Just like I said, a lot of good advice. So it's one of my favorite questions to always ask. I'm always really, really curious, especially with someone like you in your profession. What's your favorite thing, or what do you feel like is the best thing about being a police officer?
I would say the best thing is just, I know it sounds really cheesy, but I'm being honest. I would just say, being able to help somebody out, genuinely help somebody out and see, the effect on them. That's what I appreciate the most. And be it finding somebody's dog that's missing or recovering somebody's stolen car or, getting someone out of a burning car that just crashed, like those little things, that's what really makes me feel good. So I'm like, hey, I did my part today. Like, getting that abuser out of an abusive relationship, arresting him, that kind of stuff makes me feel like, yeah, I did something today. It's always fun to arrest the guy with the warrant, get the drugs, get the guns. That's fun too. But I would say the biggest thing is just seeing the citizens, react to you helping them. Like, that's what really is like, yeah, like that's why I do this, dude. Because, I could imagine, I put myself in their shoes and I imagine how I would feel if someone did that for me. Or, I imagine what I would want someone to do. So that's how I approach it. So if I can help somebody out, and because people call us on their worst days, and people call the cops, it's not to celebrate for the most part. So always try and put my best foot forward to, make these people's lives as good as I can if possible. So I would say that's the most rewarding thing for me. Again, the chases are fun, the police chases, the foot chases, but seeing the effect I'm having on the community, that's what makes me feel like that sense of accomplishment. Like, yeah, like that's why I do this. That is exactly why I do that right there. That's just me though.
No, it's super positive. I like it. I like that it sounds like it's really rewarding and just being able to help people. And they're kind of like when I interviewed a firefighter for obviously for San Antonio as well. Same kind of thing where he's like, you're helping people on what is probably one of their worst days of their life, and you're able to be there for them. And same thing. So I just really appreciate that from both y'all. So I always hate to ask a question, but I always like to hear it, and I think it's helpful too for people out there who are watching. Kind of the flip side is like, what do you feel like is the least positive thing about being a police officer, or the thing that you dislike the most about being a police officer?
I would say the worst thing about it, especially nowadays, is just people assume what kind of person you are based on your career or your job. So, these people assume, I'm you're racist or you're a murderer, and they just attack you. They're so negative. They just hit you with everything out of the gates. So I would say that's probably the most negative thing. People are ignorant as to what we really do. And it just sucks, just getting hit with negativity over and over and over and over and over again, especially 2020 and 2021. It's been rough. But you got to stay strong, focus on the people who do. There's a lot of people out there that do care, and really like police officers. But I would say the biggest thing is just being berated and put down just because you're a cop. And so I would say that's probably the most negative thing.
No, I got you. I got you. That makes sense. Kind of was it this? I just want to ask. I'm really curious. Was it kind of the same way before 2020 and everything kind of happened, or is it kind of like the same thing but amplified now?
I would say it's way worse now.
Okay.
Before that, it was just the people we were contacting that you would hear it from, career criminals, people you see them and you're
Yeah.
like, of course you don't like me, sir. Of course you don't. But now it's, suburban moms, middle school kids, kids that don't even know. And you're like, wow, like, okay. You're in nice parts of town and people, look at you, scowl at you, I've had parents slap their kids' hands when they wave at us. I'm not even kidding. I've been in line and I wave. It's a little kid. I'm gonna wave to a little kid. So I wave at the kid and the kid gets in trouble for waving at us. So I've seen it. So I would say now, just with the media attention and just the climate, now is way worse than it was in 2019. Hands down. At least 200% worse.
I got you. I got you. And have you kind of figured out like a way, or the department's kind of figured out a way to kind of like overcome some of that like negative energy, or something that you do to like help you personally kind of be like, yeah, like I hear you, but also,
Whenever I get super negative, I just focus on, the majority of people that do care about us and do support us. You can't let the minority get to you, because the majority of people, and we're doing our part to try to do more community policing, uh, helping out, in not just enforcing the law, just going out with the community, hanging out with the community. We don't want it to be where every time they see police, we're arresting somebody. It shouldn't be that way. Like people should feel comfortable just to walk up to us and have a conversation. You shouldn't be scared of us. Know what I mean? So we try to engage the public in more ways, not just enforcing the law. So they could look at us as family and friends and not just, we're people. We're humans just like everybody else. We just wear a uniform. That's the only difference. So we just want people to feel comfortable like, hey, those are humans too. They have feelings, they have families. You know, they're not out to get us, they're just out to protect us. So that's our biggest thing. But my biggest thing is just focus. I just have to focus on the positive, because you can get negative and you can get better. But I just focus on the positive people, my friends and family that support me, and that keeps me going.
okay, that makes sense. It's positive. So for yourself, somebody who's listening to you, Brian, and they're like, okay, like maybe like being a police officer, something that I want to do. Do you feel like there's any like maybe like major common pitfalls or obstacles that they have to overcome, like once they get into like the actual career, that they should be aware of? Like something a lot of people that are new are like, oh yeah, I didn't know about that, and I wish I would have known. Aside from the paperwork.
Besides the paperwork, yeah, I would say, family, the job itself can have a negative effect on your mindset, because you only see the negative in society. You just see the worst of the worst. So, I think divorces are pretty high in police forces. So if one was married when they do, or they're in a relationship, be open with your loved ones and significant others. Let them know what you're feeling. Don't bottle it up and take it out on them in a negative way, because as positive as I am as a person, even I get affected by it sometimes, inadvertently, unconsciously, but you are. So I would say, take some time with your family, do stuff outside of police work. Because I feel like some new guys, they get so consumed in it, they become police. Like police is them. And it's like, no, you're not. Like you are a police officer, but you're also Brian. You're a brother, boyfriend, cousin, son. You're not just that. So I would say, differentiate, talk to people who aren't police officers. Don't only hang out with police officers. That could be a bad thing, because then you all just ruminate in y'all's negativity and you just stay negative. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing I see coming on, is guys just fully immerse themselves in just police, and they become just police. That's their whole identity, and it's not good. It's not a healthy way to live. You gotta compartmentalize your life. It's a really fun, exciting part of your life, but you need to make time for your family and friends, and not isolate all them because you're just police all the time.
That makes sense. It's kind of like having that balance with your life.
Yes.
So someone who's watching this, Brian, again, maybe it's a kid in high school, younger adult, maybe it's even an adult, and they're kind of interested in what you do, and they're thinking that maybe it sounds good. Is there like a good like way for them to kind of maybe like dip their toe or their foot in the water to kind of see like, do I actually like what they're doing? Do I like what this is all about? Like, is there something that they could do to kind of like try before they buy, kind of a thing?
I would say what I did when I was younger, that age, I think the best way to do it is just ride-alongs. I don't know if they're doing it as much right now. I think they've kind of eased on the COVID restrictions,
Okay.
but as soon as it becomes available, I would definitely go to, your nearest substation, whatever area you live in, and do a ride-along. Be like, hey, I want to sign up for a ride-along, and you get to see firsthand what police officers do every day. And I went on, I think, 8 ride-alongs when I was in college, and not all my days were that fun. Some of them were pretty boring. But, even that, just seeing what they did, I still thought it was cool. I was like, I still want to do it. I still want to freaking apply. So you get to see the boring days, you get to see the fun days. Like there's no better way to see what they do than to go with them, go watch them. And I would say that's the number one thing. Go on ride-alongs. Go to parts of town you've never been to. Go to the Central substation. Go to the East Side substation and ride along with some officers. Ask them questions. Hey, what did you think? What did you do before you started doing this? And ask a police officer to his face, like, what do you think I should do? And that's what I did. And I appreciate all those officers' input. I see some of them now. I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? Remember when I rode with you years ago. But they remember me like, hey, I remember when you rode with me. Like, you're a cop now. That's awesome. Hell yeah. So I would say the best thing is just to go in there and, see for yourself. Because we have a lot of programs. You can just see exactly what we do in person. And I think that's the best way to get a feel if you really want to do it or not.
That's good. I like it. I like it. There's kind of like a really good way to like literally see what it is day to day. So for yourself, Brian, like what's like the long-term career goal within the police force?
I would say, I love being on the streets. I love, getting the bad guys. But I think my long-term goals are I want to promote. My dad was a supervisor, so that's what my plan is. So I'm gonna try at least promote to captain, by 25 years, at least be a captain. Because after that you can't promote. They have to appoint you. So that's up to whatever chief's in charge at that point. But that's my goal. I want to, get as much experience and just move up the ranks, experience each rank, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, but ultimately end at captain. And that's when you can start making policy changes at that point, making big changes how the patrolmen operate. But I would say that's my long-term goal is to be a captain.
That's awesome. It's cool also that at that point in time you can kind of change how things actually kind of break down and how they work, which is really positive. I definitely think that'd be like a really cool thing to do. You said your dad made it. How far did you make it up? Sorry, I don't remember.
He was a lieutenant,
Okay, okay,
so he's one level under captain, so he has one bar
okay,
on
okay,
his
okay.
collar. So he was a shift commander for South B shift.
Okay, okay, I got you.
So
So
he
you,
did that. He
so
did
you're,
that for 14 years.
I got you. So you're just trying to be like, hey, Dad, I beat you by one. So
Exactly. Yeah. I have to go. I have to. Like, I have to. It's a competition, even if he doesn't agree. So I have to get to captain.
no, I like it. I like it. So another really great question is, do you feel like there's any type of like personalities or personality traits that are helpful in being a police officer, or that someone needs to have this, or they shouldn't be a police officer, like anything like that?
I would say, just a positive mindset. The more positive you are, the easier the job gets because, it comes with obstacles, be it new legislative sessions, laws changing, policies changing, stuff you can't control. There's a lot of stuff you can't control. It's up to the elected politicians. And when they say we have to do something a certain way, you have to do it that way. Doesn't matter what you think. So a positive mindset that's like, well, it is what it is, I'm still happy to be here. I would say just be positive because you're gonna see a lot of negative stuff. You're gonna deal with a lot of negative people. And if you're already a negative person who just sees the glass half empty, it could be detrimental to your career experience, could kind of dim some moments that could be good. So I would say a great personality trait is just, be positive. Just be a positive light wherever you go, and always be in a good mood because there's plenty of stuff that's going to bring you down. So always try and find the positive in something, and just always put forth 100% effort. Even if I know some days, even me, I like to go hard. Some days I'm just tired, and I might not draw as good of a crash diagram as I could. But always try and put forth that extra effort because you don't know what you don't that could be that report that you put that extra effort in could be what convinces the judge to convict this guy. You know, that good crash report could save someone from months of insurance battles over whose fault it was. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just positive mindset and just putting forth effort, even if you don't feel like it, just do it because it's what you should do. Because that's what would you do if it was your mom in that car accident or your mom who was filing that death report? So what would you want that officer to do? That's how I always remind myself, and I'm like, okay, let me go a little bit harder because I would want an officer to do as much as he could. So I should do the same thing.
No, actually, I love that. I actually do the exact same thing. I always say my grandma though, versus my mom.
Grandma's good too. Grandma's
I
good
always,
too.
I literally always, I'm like, if this was the person dealing with my grandma, like, what would I want them to do, and like, how far would I want them to help her? And so I always try and picture that in my brain because I know that I'll go an extra few steps even when someone's being kind of a pain in the butt.
Exactly.
So another really great question for you, Brian, because I'm really curious, just like personally, so I'm sure people are as well. Like, how does being a police officer like affect like your general lifestyle and like family life outside of work?
I would say overall it's pretty calm because my dad was a cop, so my family's pretty used to it. I would say the biggest thing is just missing holidays because we usually work holidays. We don't have days off. So I've missed so many Christmases, Thanksgivings, New Year's Eves. I've celebrated them in my patrol car because it's just how it is. So I say the biggest thing is just late nights, crazy hours, and just working opposite of all your friends. Most of my friends work 9 to 5, and I work a 6 to 4. So they're getting off work, and I'm going to work. And then I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Most people are off Saturday, Sunday. So I would say the biggest life changes are just weekends off. It's hard to see friends. You have to make an effort to see friends, and just missing holidays with family. You're gonna miss a lot of holidays, and we're used to it because my dad. But still, you're gonna have to put a concerted effort to see friends and family because the hours and the days just they're everywhere. They're all over the place.
I got you. But I'm sure it's definitely balanced by the rewarding part of the job as far as what you're doing, what you're getting out of it, what you're
Yep.
accomplishing with people. So another really good question for you as far as like it goes, because I really don't know, and you don't have to give me your numbers, but I'm always really curious to ask, like, is there like a in your brain? Again, I know it's going to vary depending on the city, like what city you're in as well, but like a general average kind of like starting pay for like someone getting into the police force that you're kind of aware of.
I think in the academy, you're getting paid, I think 44, 45 a year, I think. And then once you graduate, you'll be making about 65 a year. And then I have about 5 years on, and I'm making like working comfortably, like not working much overtime. I don't work much overtime. So I like to, spend time with family on my off days and everything. Making like 80,000 a year. I have friends that really hit the overtime. They hit it every day off. They're working and they're making upwards of 100,000 a year, and that's with less than 5 years on.
Okay.
So it's pretty good pay. I'm not missing any meals or anything. I'm doing pretty good. Uh, just working my regular shifts, but there's so much opportunities for overtime. You could really make some good pay if you want to. Just working one weekend a month, you could really, and that's just patrolman. We're not even talking about once you're a sergeant, and then just multiply those numbers by a couple,
Yeah, you start
and
getting paid more.
you're doing pretty good. You're pretty comfortable. So I would say coming out of the academy, making like 65, 70 a year with all the incentive pays and night differential, you're doing pretty good out of the academy.
Okay, I got you. No, that sounds really good. I'm happy that they take care of you guys financially as far as it sounds, which is really positive.
Pretty good.
Um, so kind of some more like fun questions I want to ask you. So I'm really curious. What do you like to do in your free time or like hobbies that you have?
Free time, I work out a lot. That's like my favorite thing to do. I do that most of the time. I do like powerlifting, kind of bodybuilding-ish activities. Other than that, things around the house, play with my doggos. I do a lot of house projects. So like fixing things, fixing fences, adding stuff to the house. So that's really fun. Other than that, I do like to sleep sometimes. So at least one of my days is solid sleep so I could kind of recover. But I would say this time with friends and family, going to the gym, um, just hanging out, making memories, just doing positive things away from police stuff when I'm off. That's probably my biggest hobbies.
Okay, I got you. I got you. Just trying to find that balance again, kind of is what it sounds like, which is
Yeah.
great. So another really fun question I always like to ask: do you have any secret talents or hobbies, or maybe something that you do or that you can do that not a lot of people know about? Something that if I met you on the street and started talking to you, I'd be like, I never would guess that Brian could do this or was interested in this or did that.
Um, oh, I know I can draw pretty good, which a lot of people don't know. I can draw quite well. I don't really do it that much, but I used to draw a lot when I was younger. I just don't really do that anymore. So I actually designed the what do you call them, challenge coins for my unit here,
Okay.
and it's a big coin with two faces on it, and you can get it like with anything you want. So I designed it, and everybody was kind of surprised and like, who drew this? And I was like, me. And they're like, you drew this? And I was like, yeah, I drew it. They were like, did you trace it? I'm like, no, I drew that. And they were like, wow, good job, Brian. So that's something that a lot of people that I work with don't know because you don't really need to use it at work. So, but I do draw a lot. Um, I would say pretty much that is the only thing for the most part, I would say.
Okay, okay. No, I'll take it. I'll take it. I like it. Something different. I mean, I could definitely see them, you showing them the coin and asking you who drew it, and you being like, "Oh, it's me." And they're like, "Are you sure you wanted to be a police officer? Like, are you doing the right thing?"
Are you sure about this?
And then I have one more good question for you before we wrap it up. Is do you have any like last words of advice, words of wisdom for anybody who's either interested in what you're talking about, or maybe like on the path to being a police officer already?
Like I'll just touch on some things from earlier.
Yeah.
You know, make good decisions starting young. Make good decisions. It all starts now. Like you might think, I'm just in high school. It starts now. Like everything starts when you get into high school. Make good grades in high school, achieve everywhere you go, put your best forward. Every place you work. When I was at Six Flags, 100%. When I was at Costco, I tried to be the best Costco employee they had. You know what I mean? Put in 100% for every member. Because member service was our number one priority. That's what it says on a little name tag. But putting 100% wherever you go, people should know, like, man, that guy puts in 100%. Like, he's always working hard. He never complains. He's always here. Um, and look into things for yourself. Right now is a time where a lot of misinformation is being passed around, and do your own research and go see for yourself before you assume. Don't let outside sources discourage you, especially in police. I can see a lot of young people being discouraged by everything they see on the news and what they hear from celebrities and sports players. Look for yourself. Come by a police station. You see a cop in a parking lot, go ask him. I hope that the officer would be kind and, let the kid know what's it. Because I did that when I was young and they were nice to me. I was at Gold's Gym and I asked them, how do y'all like being cops? And they were like, I love it, man. It's great. I was like, oh, cool. Like they like it. And it just reinforced my interest even more. So, but I would say the biggest things is make good decisions young and go to the source. If you want to find out how something is, go to the source. Go do some ride along. See how the job is for yourself, and that will let you know really quick if you really want to do it or not.
I like it. I like it. I think it's like I said, a lot of good knowledge, information, and some really good advice in there. So one more thing I always like to do, Brian, just if you want to, you don't have to. I probably should have told you at the beginning. I have a really bad time of remembering to say this at the beginning because I have to remember to record the damn call after talking for 20 minutes at the beginning. I didn't know if you wanted to throw your email out to anybody. So if there's anybody, maybe a junior, senior in high school who's like, hey, I have a question about this, Brian, or a question about that, or maybe just like wants to seek out maybe someone who lives in San Antonio and is like, hey, can I do a ride along with you? I don't know if you guys do ride alongs in your position,
Yeah.
but if anybody want to reach out, if you want to throw out your email out there for anybody.
Yeah, it'd be great. Do I just say it or?
Yeah, you can just say it, and I'll put it in the description as well.
Okay, bet. So my it's gonna be brianhead65 at yahoo.com, all lowercase. So I'm pretty sure I'll put it in the description. So,
Yeah, I'll put it
but
in
yeah,
the
to send me an email if y'all have any questions, about the application process, what you should expect in the academy, what you should expect in the street, any tips like that. Send me an email and I'll be able to answer it. When it comes to street crimes, we ride doubled up, but so I might not be able to do ride-alongs, but I know a lot of patrolmen. So let me know what sub you want to stop by, and I can let patrolmen at that substation, especially the more upbeat, positive officers, because you want an active officer. You want to ride with the go-getter, because that's going to be exciting. So they could let me know, and I could try and get in contact with somebody so they can get a good person to ride with.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome. Yeah, so thank you again, Brian. I greatly appreciate your time. It was really awesome talking to you and really hearing about what you do.
No problem, man. Anytime.
Yeah, well, I look forward to talking to you again soon, and thank you again. Have a great day.
No problem. You have a good one, man.
Take care, brother. Bye.
Bye.